This video is brought to you by Manscaped.com, the global brand for men's grooming and hygiene products.
And what makes him even, listen, what makes him even legitimate conversation? How many records did his last record sell?
You said going to something else.
Not this, is it interesting? Come on, tell me something interesting.
$1 million?
1 million records. That makes him what? That makes us ashamed because we both rap. He wouldn't even be making a mixtape because I invented that. When he freestyles on a mixtape, it's in song format because he's following my format.
From DJs selling cassettes in barbershops to young artists now digitally uploading their projects onto Spotify, the definition of a mixtape in hip-hop is fluid and has dramatically shifted over the decades. From the late 2000s to the mid-2010s, before the dawn of the Soundcloud era, the mixtape became an almost mandatory path for any young starving MC. From Mac Miller's Kids to Wiz Khalifa's Kush and OJ, the peak of the blog era meant that a classic mixtape could catapult you from rags to riches with no label involvement.
I'm gonna give y'all the link in 2 minutes, okay? Cause it's gonna get backed up, so I'm gonna give you it first because y'all were here.
But the defining moment of mixtapes happened in the early 2000s, and you can draw a distinct line in the sand to separate the two main chapters of mixtape history, pre and post 50 Cent.
When they make a mixtape now, that's really because of me. When an artist is recording his whole mixtape, that's me. A mixtape would be you rapping and showing your lyrical abilities over different beats that were out and available.
Sure.
And it's the DJ's tape. That's what a mixtape was. When they're actually in song format and it's a tape and you're calling it a mixtape,
body of work.
That's 50 Cent.
Accounting for an estimated $150 to $250 million of the hip-hop economy by 2006, mixtapes, which would be subject to raids from the FBI, achieved something that the average album couldn't. Where mixtapes had previously acted as primers for rising rappers, one undeterred rapper come entrepreneur would snatch the mixtape formula, shake it up, and completely disrupt it like a mad scientist. After mastering songwriting under the tutelage of Run DMC's Jam Master Jay, the brash 50 Cent had begun building a steady buzz with his controversial single, How to Rob, a track where he comically describes robbing a long list of famous rappers. Gained 50 a lot of attention from fellow rappers for its disrespectful name dropping.
Being a new kid, brand new, nobody don't know nobody. How do you get in all at one time? You make everybody that you feel like is somebody go, yo, who's 50 Cent?
The sky was the limit for Curtis Jackson, until he was infamously dropped by Columbia after being shot 9 times. 50 was blackballed, and as he reflected years later, I knew my music had to be better than good to win. Left without a platform to breach the mainstream, 50 fell back. Refusing to let his hype die down, a chance encounter with a neighborhood mixtape salesman provided 50 with an unanticipated escape route from the career-based purgatory he'd found himself in. A lot of people don't even know how different marketing and non-traditional marketing impacts the actual culture, 50 recalled years on. Before 50 Cent Is the Future was released, what they call a mixtape now didn't exist. A mixtape prior to that was me sending 16 bars to you for your tape, to the different DJs that were around. What happened with 50 Cent Is the Future was, I was going across the street to the bootlegger and I said, you got anything new? And he said, yeah, look, new 50 Cent, see? He was selling to me based on me, but I didn't have any photograph or anything, so I was like, I'm going to make my own tape. Just as the late Jam Master Jay had guided him, 50 would find his next invaluable allies against the industry machine in the form of DJ Who Kid and Shaw Money XL. Banned from recording studios over fears of violence, it was Shaw's home that spawned the iconic tape Guess Who's Back, which was packed with freestyles and leftover tracks from Power of the Dollar, his scrapped debut album under Columbia. Using the now sacred mixtape tradition of taking popular instrumentals from other artists, 50 wrote countless beats until the wheels fell off, and frequently outshined the original artist. After churning out 4 iconic mixtapes in the span of 6 months, 50 Cent was signed to Shady Aftermath. And well, as they say, the rest is history.
I heard it. I brought it to Dre. Dre heard it. He was sold.
As of right now, 50 is semi-retired as a musician and hasn't dropped a record since 2014's Animal Ambition, and is mostly known as a mogul entrepreneur and frequently hilarious and petty internet troll. So it's hard to stress to the younger generation just how impossibly massive 50 Cent was. He wasn't just a rapper, he was a hip-hop superhero, with his tragic backstory of being shot 9 times functioning as some kind of messed up cinematic origin story that only made him more exciting to America. 50 became a global icon who took over the world in what felt like overnight. But without the Guess Who's Back mixtape reaching Eminem's ears, the antics and anthems that we'd come to love from 50 might never have been brought to the public eye. Today, rappers blown up from mixtapes feels like a tale as old as time. Drake's So Far Gone propelled him from Degrassi's Wheelchair Jimmy to the definitive artist of the 2010s. And the now classic acid rap turned Chance the Rapper from virtual unknown to Chicago's prodigal son, among countless other examples. But before 50 came along, getting rich and absurdly famous from mixtapes looked like walking on water. It was an industry game changer. So while the strategy was minted in South Jamaica, Queens, the concept of the street album was later refined below the Mason-Dixon line. A changing of the guard in more ways than one, it was none other than Cash Money prodigy Lil Wayne that would become the torchbearer for how to use mixtapes to your advantage. Alright, so with 2022 looking brighter than last year, it's likely that a lot of you will be looking to get out there and enjoy yourselves. And with 85% of women feeling as though it's our duty to keep things trimmed in the downstairs department, it'd be wise to stack the odds in your favor by doing exactly that. Nowadays, more men than ever like to take care of themselves with Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0. A one-stop shop for all things below the waist, this special kit features the acclaimed Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which is not only waterproof, but features skin-safe technology and an LED light for closer inspection, the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, Crop Reviver Toning Spray, and the Magic Matte Shaving Catcher. And if that wasn't enough, Manscaped just released a brand new collection of high-performance boxer briefs made of the highest quality perforated fabric to ensure maximum breathability and comfort. Their tagless, anti-chafing design makes the briefs feel like a second skin, and with a range of 6 colors, from a classic gray to a modern pinstripe design to the extravagant gold nugget, they're sure to become a new staple in your wardrobe. And if that wasn't enough, if you order now, you'll receive 2 free gifts, not to mention free shipping and a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you're looking to upgrade your grooming game, then use the code HipHopMadness at checkout for 20% off at manscaped.com. That's HipHopMadness for 20% off. All right, let's get back to the video. In typical fashion, 50 was quick to decry the idea that Lil Wayne played any role in making mixtapes hot. He wouldn't even be making a mixtape because I invented that. 50 growled after comparisons were drawn.
But there's no significance in that. When he freestyles on a mixtape, it's in song format because he's following my format. But they asked me about him like we're the same.
Although 50 is more than justified to stake his claim as the true trailblazer, his dismissal of Wayne's contributions doesn't invalidate the shift that happened under his nose. While he'd been in the public eye for years, Weezy F Baby wasn't always a big dog. Rather than being in contention for GOAT status, Wayne was simply a bit part player on a label where he was overshadowed by Juvenile. Entering the game as a teen prodigy, he was stuck in the background like an extra. For such an explosive talent and one-of-a-kind approach to rap, the spotlight seemed allergic to him. Unsatisfied with the lack of recognition, Tunechi began to turn the tide with his 2002 album 500 Degrees, and 2004's The Carter. But it wasn't until he linked up with Gangsta Grill's DJ Drama, where Wayne set himself on a collision course with what had become the most prolific mixtape run in history. Unbound by conventional standards or commercial pressures, this unparalleled spree that began with December 2005's The Dedication not only enabled Weezy to control his narrative and move out of the lingering shadow of his hot boy past, but hone the skills that would allow him to capture the crown of the greatest rapper alive within his time frame. While 50 molded and reinvented what was the mixtape, Wayne perfected the formula and became the mixtape king. There's a reason why publications like The Guardian crowned all his mixtapes as #1 on their article ranking every Lil Wayne album, or why Rolling Stone put The Drought 2 on their list of best albums of 2007, a distinguishment that was previously unheard of for a mixtape. Simply put, Mixtape Wayne was a different beast. Wayne's mixtape discography became stunning to the point of confusion. He was dropping different series of solo mixtapes in an overwhelmingly quick rate and random order. Between the Drought series and the Dedication series, the No Ceiling series, and the Sorry for the Wait series, his mixtape run perfectly coincided with the rise of popular mixtape download sites like DatPiff and Hot New Hip Hop. If 50 had captured lightning in a bottle, Wayne had somehow captured a tsunami in a sippy cup. Wayne's increasingly legendary mixtape run in the mid-aughts reached a crescendo with the release of The Carter 3 in 2008, which felt like a victorious culmination of years of grinding. In another world, The Carter 3 could have been another album that came and went, but thanks to Wayne's unprecedented mixtape run, The Carter 3 felt like a massive cultural event. It crowned Wayne the best rapper alive of the late aughts, and made him the biggest musician of 2008. Punctuated with smash hits like Lollipop, Got Money, A Milli, Mr. Carter, and Miss Officer, Wayne occupied a rarefied space where he was able to make catchy pop singles while remaining a top-tier lyricist, which made him the king of the world, and it all started with a bunch of mixtapes. A blockbuster juggernaut of a mainstream album, The Carter 3's financial success prompted further parallels with him and 50, when it became the first album since 50 Cent's Massacre to sell over 1 million copies in a single week. The two biggest titans of mixtapes had ended up on equal footing, with Wayne reaching 50's level of cultural dominance a few years earlier. It's perhaps no coincidence that 50 and Wayne started dissing each other back and forth in songs like Wayne's Louisianimal and 50's Play This on the Radio, among many others. Reflecting years on, Drama cited one of Wayne's finest creations as a genuine watershed moment in mixtape history that set the tone for its vibrant future. Watching that new school come up and create these projects helped breathe life back into the game. I remember when me and Wayne did Dedication 3, that was a monumental moment. I think that was the biggest tape I had done. For me, it was about the culture and about what mixtapes meant to all those generations and eras in terms of how we are where we are today. As of right now, Wayne has dropped a jaw-dropping total of 28 mixtapes in his career. The only other rapper to come close to this kind of output is hip-hop's favorite mysterious oddball and enigmatic meme lord Lil B, who has dropped 68 mixtapes in his career, including mixtapes that included over 800 songs. Though it's important to keep in mind that Lil B's self-invented subgenre of bass rapping is a literally freestyled stream-of-conscious series of non-sequiturs, buzzwords, and absurd jokes. So while it has its own type of artistic and comedic value, it still doesn't hold a candle to Wayne. As for releasing mixtapes, artists now bypass the mixtape sites that were staples of the late aughts and the early 10s and upload them directly to streaming services. Mainstream MCs like Jack Harlow and DaBaby quietly dropped countless mixtapes and EPs for years on Spotify, Apple Music, and Tidal, helping them reach household name status. So the path of blowing up off of one mixtape is far from extinct. It's essentially the same process, but in different clothes. But still, 50 and Wayne laid the groundwork for this process. The term mixtape itself now has a looser definition. Drake will label certain projects mixtapes to avoid burning the public out and to truly roll out the red carpet for his official albums. He labeled If You're Reading This It's Too Late, More Life, and Dark Lane demo tapes as mixtapes to make Views, Scorpion, and Certified Lover Boy feel like cultural events. There was virtually no difference between the projects other than how Drake framed them. Likewise, a majority of Young Thug's output, including modern trap classics like Barter 6 and Jeffrey, have been labeled by him as mixtapes until 2019's So Much Fun. Meanwhile, the closest thing we have to a modern example of mixtape Wayne is Future. His insane work ethic and fast-paced mixtape run in the mid-2010s was reminiscent of the same kind of fan excitement and critical acclaim as Tunechi in his prime, dropping trap masterpieces like Monster, Beast Mode, 56 Nights, and Purple Rain at an alarming rate, not to mention balancing that out with his official albums. And while 50 may contest Wayne's role, we, the hip-hop community, should retain the utmost respect for these two legends and the contribution they made that will outlive both men, in all likelihood, their legendary back catalogs as well. Mixtape Wayne still has a sheen of prestige when his mixtape No Ceilings 3 in 2020 dropped as a Dat Piff exclusive, something ballsy and bizarre for an artist as famous as Wayne now in the streaming era. And while 50 hasn't rapped in quite some time, his track record speaks for itself and can never be erased. So despite the more than impressive mixtape output this past decade from rappers like Future, Lil B, and the late Mac Miller, they wouldn't have done it without the chance to stand on the shoulders of these two giants.